Since its introduction in World War I, the fighter aircraft has always been at the cutting edge of military technology. In less than a century, it has evolved into one of the deadliest weapons on the planet. The fighter first appeared over the battlefield in World War I. The Fokker Eindecker was the first aircraft designed to shoot down enemy aircraft. Its forward-firing gun enabled it to be flown by a lone pilot. The result was carnage, and the legend of the fighter pilot was born. Over the next decades, it would be the fighter aircraft and its pilots that grasped the public's attention. Legends were born: Spitfire, Messerschmitt 109, Mustang, MiG-15 and the Hawker Hunter. As technology advanced and new enemies emerged, new and more deadly weapons were added. Machine guns became cannons, then missiles, then the fighter became a strike aircraft. Now, as the 21st century begins, there are a whole new generation of fighters entering service around the world, utilizing all the lessons learned since the arrival of the Eindecker. The first of the new generation fighters to enter service was the SAAB Gripen, or Griffin. It was officially declared operational by the Swedish Air Force in 1997. Gripen is what's known as a multi-role combat fighter. This means it can perform more than one type of mission. This multi-role ethos is one of the trademarks of all the new generation fighters. In the 1970s, Swedish military planners began to look for a new generation fighter to follow the very successful SAAB Viggen. They considered US-made aircraft such as the F-16 or FA-18, but these would have proved difficult to integrate into the tightly linked Swedish defense network, so the decision was taken to build an all-new design. The Swedes had already proven themselves capable of building their own first-class fighter aircraft, tailored precisely to their specifications. In 1980, the Swedish Defence Materiel Administration issued a requirement to Swedish manufacturers for a next-generation multi-role combat aircraft. It would need excellent performance and high agility to counter the threat of new Soviet fighters then going into service. It had to be simpler and cheaper to maintain than the Viggen, and easy to turn around quickly to ensure a high combat sortie rate. The aircraft did not need to have long range, as the focus of the Swedish Air Force is defense only. A consortium named Industry Gruppen JAS was formed, and the proposed aircraft was designated SAAB 2110 and was accepted in the spring of 1982. The first single-seat JAS 39A Gripen prototype flew on the 9th of December 1988. The first production Gripen performed its maiden flight on the 4th of March 1993. The JAS 39A reached initial operational status in 1995 and full operational status in 1997. The Gripen is a true lightweight fighter. It has 78% of the empty weight of an F-16C and is about half the empty weight of the FA-18 Super Hornet or the Dassault Rafale. The Gripen's airframe features extensive use of composite components to reduce weight. The modest size reduces operating cost, makes the machine easier to handle on the ground, and gives it a much lower radar signature. The Gripen has all-moving canard forewings with a sweep of 45 degrees. They can also tilt almost 90 degrees to act as air brakes on landing. The wings are mounted mid-body to provide clearance for under-wing weapons, and each has a leading-edge flap and 2 trailing-edge drooping elevons. These are combined elevators and ailerons, which improve short-field performance as well as maneuverability. There are also 2 tiny strakes on the nose to generate vortices to improve flight control at high angles of attack. Power comes from a Volvo Aero RM12 turbofan engine with afterburner, providing 18,400 pounds of thrust. The RM12 was developed in cooperation with General Electric and is derived from the GE F404J turbofan used on the Boeing FA-18 Hornet. Swedish defence plans include a concept known as BAS-90, which envisions dispersal of aircraft in groups of 4 to 6 to road bases defined around specially reinforced lengths of highway. This scheme dictates the Gripen's short field capabilities, meaning it can take off and land in less than 2,000 feet. Once deployed to a road base, the Gripens are serviced by a team of 6, including 1 highly trained specialist and 5 minimally trained conscripts. A service team can refuel and rearm a Gripen in 10 minutes. The Gripen cockpit layout contains 3 multifunction displays, plus a wide-angle head-up display.
You have an aircraft with a lot of information and a very good man-machine interface. It's very easy to handle the aircraft, it's very easy to handle the system. You have a very high situation awareness together with the data link system. It's easy to fly, it's very low cost to operate the aircraft as well. What you see, hopefully, is 3 big multifunction displays in colors, 6 x 8 inches. And if you start with the one to your right, this one in this is the radar. And you can see the different target here. The radar automatically detects and tracks target. I also have the same information, more or less, over the scenario on the tactical display in the center, where I have my data link information, where I see myself as a symbol, I see my friends as a symbol, I see how much fuel they have, I see how much armament they have, and also I automatically see what kind of target they select. On the left-hand display, I have some flight information as well as underneath information about the radar warning receiver. Up in front, I have an up-front controller where I can maneuver the radio, and other stuff, it's like a keyboard to the computer, is up here, so it's easy for the pilot to fly and operate it at the same time. Of course, we have HOTAS, hands on throttle and stick, meaning that most of the functionalities I need for flying or to maneuver the weapon system or the radar I found here on the throttle and stick.
The aircraft is controlled by a digital fly-by-wire system with triple redundancy and an analog backup. The analog backup system provides a simple, reliable capability and is automatically activated if 2 of the 3 digital systems go down. The pilot can also activate the analog system with the push of a button. The Gripen's Ferranti Ericsson PS-05A X-band pulse Doppler radar provides a number of operating modes, including air-to-air, long-range search and track, and multiple target tracking. The Swedes were pioneers in the development and deployment of data-linked combat systems, secretly fielding an initial version of a national defense data link network with the SAAB 35 Gripen fighter in the mid-1960s. They have continued to refine the network, and the Gripen slots into this perfectly. The Gripen is fitted with the Tactical Information Data Link system, allowing the Gripen to engage in combat using another aircraft's sensors or from targeting data provided by other defense systems. One Gripen can provide radar sensing for 4 of its colleagues, allowing a single fighter to track a target while the others use the data for a stealthy attack. The Gripen's built-in armament consists of a single Mauser BK-27 27mm cannon, housed in a fairing on the aircraft's belly. The aircraft's design philosophy dictated that it would generally carry guided weapons to ensure maximum combat effectiveness given the aircraft's small size and limited warload. Stores include air-to-air missiles. The primary air-to-air missile is the Raytheon AIM-120 AMRAAM. Other possible stores include the French Matra Mika, the British Aerospace Skyflash, and the new Anglo-French MBDA ramjet-powered Meteor. Anti-ship missiles such as the SAAB RBS-15 turbojet-powered sea-skimming missile. Air-to-surface missiles such as the Raytheon AGM-65 Maverick. Although the Swedes have traditionally been reluctant to export weapons, the end of the Cold War seems to have led to some change in this policy, and in June 1995, SAAB formed a partnership with BAE Systems named Gripen International to sell the Gripen on the world market. The arrangement allowed SAAB to leverage off the British firm's international marketing clout. There was skepticism in the aircraft industry that the Gripen could meet the competition from American and French manufacturers, but events have proved the skeptics wrong. The first export success for the Gripen occurred in 1999, when South Africa ordered 28, with initial deliveries scheduled for 2006. The South African deal wasn't heavily contested, but late in 2001, Hungary committed to a 10-year lease for 14 Gripens with an option to buy. The Czech Republic announced a preliminary agreement to buy 24 Gripens, including 18 JAS-39As and 6 JAS-39Bs. The development of such an advanced aircraft as Gripen shows that smaller nations can hold their own in the race to develop advanced fighters. Next into military service was the French-built Dassault Rafale. Different Western nations had slightly different motives for developing a fourth-generation fighter. In the late 1970s, the Armée de l'Air, or French Air Force, was already fielding their new Dassault Mirage 2000 multi-role fighter and was thinking of what its next-generation successor would look like. At the same time, the Aéronaval, the French naval air arm, needed a replacement for their Dassault Étendard and Super Étendard strike aircraft, and in particular their US-built Vought F-8 Crusader fighters. There were many areas of convergence between the Armée de l'Air and Aéronaval requirements, and so the two services were able to agree development of a single multi-role fighter to meet their needs. This agreement emerged in the form of a requirement for a demonstrator designated the Avion de Combat Expérimental, or ACX, as a first step towards an operational aircraft. Dassault was authorized to begin full development of an ACX demonstrator in early 1983, naming the machine the Rafale or Squall. There were discussions with other potential European partners before and after this decision, but the French were insistent on developing a machine tailored to their own requirements, with France firmly in the driver's seat, and were not inclined to compromise. The French went almost completely alone in building the Rafale, not even leveraging major subsystems of foreign technology, as the Swedes did with Gripen. Dassault began work on a Rafale A technology demonstrator effort in March 1984, with the machine rolled out on the 14th of December 1985. The demonstrator performed its first flight on the 4th of July 1986. It exceeded Mach 1.3 on its first flight and Mach 1.8 a few days later. The demonstrator's capabilities were impressive enough to encourage the French Ministry of Defense to place a production order for the Rafale in April 1988. 3 versions of the Rafale were planned: a single-seat Rafale C for the Armée de l'Air, where C stood for chasseur or fighter; a 2-seat Rafale B for the Armée de l'Air, where B stood for biplace; and a single-seat Rafale M for the Aéronaval, where M stood for marine. The black-painted C-01 prototype of the Rafale C performed its first flight in May 1991. The prototype for the Rafale B 2-seater B-01 performed its initial flight in April 1993. The final production Rafale has essentially the same general configuration as the Rafale A, but is slightly smaller. It also features changes to reduce its radar cross-section, such as improved airframe contours, use of radar-absorbing material, and a gold-plated canopy. This goes a long way to adding stealth characteristics to Rafale. It is relatively small for a twin-engine fighter, with an empty weight of around 3,000 pounds greater than that of a single-engine F-16C, and a maximum takeoff weight of around 10,000 pounds. Rafale is powered by 2 Snecma M88-2 turbofans with 16,860 pounds of thrust in afterburner. It also features a compound sweep low-mounted main wing and all-moving high-mounted canard foreplanes mounted just behind the cockpit. The wing has full-span elevons, which function as elevators and ailerons combined. Like all new fighters, Rafale is aerodynamically unstable to provide agility. A digital fly-by-wire system compensates for this lack of stability. Like the Gripen, Rafale also has excellent short-field capabilities. It's designed to be reliable and easy to maintain under austere field conditions. It is fitted with a single 30mm GAT-791B cannon, mounted on the right engine duct with an astonishing rate of fire of 2,500 rounds per minute. Rafale features 14 external stores attachments, including wingtip rails for air-to-air missiles, as well as for airshow smoke generators. It has 3 stores pylons under each wing, fore and aft conformal stations for missiles on each side of the fuselage, and fore and aft centerline pylons. It can carry the Matra BAE Dynamics Missile d'Interception de Combat d'Autodéfense, or MICA for short. The MICA was designed in parallel with the Rafale development effort. It is a highly agile, relatively long-range missile. The MICA has a launch-before-lock capability, allowing it to engage distant targets without giving much warning of its approach through a radar signal. In the air defense role, the Rafale can carry up to 10 MICAs. While the aircraft can carry dumb bombs and unguided rocket pods, the push these days is towards smart munitions. Rafale can carry US paveway laser-guided bombs, and the fighter will also carry the Matra BAE Dynamics Apache Scalp cruise missile. The pilot sits on a Martin Baker Mark 16F00, 0 speed, 0 altitude ejection seat, inclined 29 degrees to improve pilot tolerance to G-forces, under a canopy that hinges open to the right. An onboard oxygen generating system is provided to eliminate the need to stockpile oxygen canisters. The pilot flies the aircraft with a side stick controller mounted on the right side of the seat and a throttle on the left, with both studded with hands-on throttle and stick controls. The Rafale features a glass cockpit and a comprehensive combat avionics suite. The glass cockpit is startlingly austere and would probably come as a complete shock to a fighter pilot from the days of dials and indicators. It includes a wide-angle holographic head-up display or HUD to display most of the relevant information using sophisticated symbology, and two accessory color flat-panel multifunction displays with touch input overlays. Pilots wear special silk-lined leather gloves with no seams on the fingertips to use the touch overlays, and the gloves will also have chamois pads for cleaning the screens. The Rafale B is very similar to the Rafale C, except for the tandem seats. The Rafale B is fully equipped with operational kit, and the control layout for the front and back seats is as similar as possible to ensure maximum operational flexibility. The Rafale B was originally seen primarily as a conversion trainer to be purchased in small quantities. It was believed that improvements in aircraft avionics would allow the pilot of the single-seat Rafale C to perform all operational missions. However, the Gulf War in 1991 demonstrated to the Armée de l'Air that strike and reconnaissance missions often required two aircrew, and so the service then increased the proportion of two-seaters in their buy. The Rafale M is very similar to the Rafale C, the only really visible differences being taller, longer nose gear with catapult attachment fixtures and fit of a Stinger-type arresting hook under the tail. The Rafale C and B actually do have runway arresting hooks, but much less prominent. The Rafale M requires a much more formidable one, since a carrier jet snags the cable at full throttle in case the landing is a bolter and the aircraft has to come around for another try. Other changes to the Rafale M include a stronger airframe and main gear to withstand smackdown landings on carriers, a built-in power-operated pilot boarding ladder, a carrier microwave landing system that makes landing procedures much easier than with earlier French carrier aircraft, and a telomere inertial navigation system that can obtain position reference data from the carrier. Although the Rafale development program has gone well, the program has not quite gone so smoothly politically. The generally unexpected end of the Cold War caused complications for all the Western fourth-generation fighter efforts, resulting in program stretch-outs and reduced buys. Initial service deliveries of the Rafale M were in December 2001, with the first Aeronaval Rafale M squadron fully operational on the Charles de Gaulle in the summer of 2002. Initial delivery to the Armée de l'Air of a two-seat Rafale B was in December 2000. So far, the Rafale has won no export orders. But ironically, Dassault is still having good luck with export sales of the cheaper Mirage 2000, with the latest versions of this proven fighter benefiting from technology developed for the Rafale. Beginning in late 1983, the air staffs of 5 European nations, Britain, France, Germany, Italy and Spain, began to work together to define specifications for a common 4th-generation fighter aircraft to go into service in the mid-1990s. Although Britain and Spain wanted a multi-role fighter, West Germany and Italy were only interested in an air superiority machine. The group managed to hammer out their differences with a general agreement on specifications reached in December 1985. The insistence of the British and Spanish on a multi-role capability was important to the machine's survival. The demise of the Soviet Union greatly changed the nature of the challenge faced by European nations, from a hostile communist monolith to the east to unpredictable brushfire conflicts that could spring up almost anywhere. A multi-role Eurofighter would fit the new challenges well. The first prototype Eurofighter, designated DA-1, finally flew on the 27th of March 1994. That prototype was built by Dassault, wore Luftwaffe markings, and was flown by German pilot Peter Weger from an airfield at Manching in Germany. The formal decision to go ahead with production was made in 1997, with production contracts awarded in 1998. In September 1998, the Eurofighter organization announced the aircraft's name, Typhoon. Despite all the problems and delays, which were not unique to Typhoon among the 4th-generation fighter efforts and to an extent were inevitable in a multinational collaboration, the result appears to be no disappointment. Typhoon is a canard aircraft powered by twin Eurojet EJ200 2-spool afterburning turbofans with the intakes on the belly of the aircraft under the cockpit. This position helps ensure airflow at high angles of attack. Each EJ200 turbofan provides 13,490 pounds of dry thrust and 20,250 pounds of thrust in afterburner. Typhoon has a cropped delta wing. The trailing edge is straight and features full-span split flaperons or flap ailerons. Typhoon is now in production. The first production standard aircraft, a 2-seater, performed its initial flight on the 5th of April 2002 and was followed within days by 2 more production aircraft. It's now going into service with all 4 Eurofighter member nations.
Typhoon is now being seen more and more widely the way that we have always seen it, as a major success story. There have, of course, been teething problems in the development of the aircraft and in its initial production, as there always are with systems that are at the cutting edge of technology. So the aircraft is now in Royal Air Force service. Our people are flying it, and our people are developing it operationally. And they are all enormously enthusiastic about it. The performance of the aircraft and its radar and its other systems is superb. The reliability and the availability of, again, both the aircraft and the radar are excellent. So all of that is very encouraging. We've still got a way to go before we develop it fully in terms of its operational capability, but it's all extremely encouraging. And I think that's now being seen more widely across the UK. The Typhoon is a true multi-role aircraft. and it will replace both the Tornado F3 and the Jaguar in the air defense, air superiority and the offensive support roles. And it will do all of those extremely well.
Typhoon, clear takeoff and display, wind is 270, less than 5 knots. Clear takeoff and display, passing fast.
While the Eurofighter has a greater radar cross-section than the US F-22 or F-35, radar-absorbent material is used in the inlets and around the cockpit, and the composite assemblies were designed with an eye towards reducing RCS. Like all the latest fighters, Typhoon features a modern glass cockpit with colour flat-panel multifunction displays and a wide-angle HUD, as well as HOTAS flight controls. Typhoon has a built-in 27mm Mauser cannon on the right side of the belly of the aircraft with 150 rounds of ammunition. As a cost-saving measure, the cannon on the UK version is in place but will not be used. Stores can include long-range AAMs, initially the excellent US AIM-120 advanced medium-range missile, but later the new Matra BAE Dynamics Meteor, expected to be introduced into service in 2008. Meteor is expected to improve on AMRAAM in seeker intelligence as well as missile performance and range. Short-range AAMs such as the AIM-9L Sidewinder or the Matra BAE Dynamics ASRAAM. Conventional dumb bombs, BL-755 cluster bombs or paveway laser-guided bombs. CRV-7 70mm unguided rocket pods, Brimstone anti-armor missiles, Boeing Harpoon anti-ship missiles and the Matra BAE Dynamics Storm Shadow cruise missile. Typhoon's combat avionics are built around the ECR-90 Pulse Doppler multi-mode radar, which has long range, resistance to countermeasures, and all-aspect look-up, look-down capability. It also has the ability to scan for and simultaneously track multiple targets in the air and on the land or sea, and ground mapping for navigation, terrain following, and terrain avoidance.
Well, in the modern battlefield, battle space, if you don't know what's going on around you, you're very poorly placed. So situational awareness is the buzzword that serves there. So we've done everything in designing the airplane from the cockpit out to give the pilot the information that he needs. When it's coming from all the different systems and sensors, be that the radar, be it data link information, be it infrared information, it's all brought on board the airplane, melded together before it's displayed to the pilot. So you've got in this cockpit some unparalleled situational awareness, where we can get slow, we can fly at high angles of attack, but we can also get fast very quickly. The ability to change our energy level is one of the keys to the capabilities of this airplane.
Outside of the Big Four, Austria has signed a deal for 18 Eurofighters. Greece is very interested in the type, and Singapore is evaluating it. Although Typhoon had both technical and political difficulties during its long development, the final production version shows just how capable this next-generation fighter is. The most advanced aircraft in service in the world today is the Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor. the world's first fifth-generation fighter aircraft. The F-22 Raptor was developed in response to a study conducted through the 1970s on new fighter concepts. By the early 1980s, the USAF had decided to focus on development of an Advanced Tactical Fighter, or ATF, and issued a request for proposals for such an aircraft in May 1983. The ATF was intended to be a next-generation air superiority fighter designed to stay ahead of advanced Soviet aircraft and missile designs, then presumed to be in development. Lockheed Martin eventually won the Advanced Tactical Fighter competition in April 1991 and was put on Air Force contract to build 11 EMD test aircraft in August 1991. The first true F-22 prototype, more imaginatively designated the Raptor, was rolled out at the Lockheed Martin plant at Marietta, Georgia on the 9th of April 1997 and was flown for the first time September the 7th, 1997.
What you see when you look at the Raptor is a very sleek airplane, and all of the weapons are carried on the inside of the aircraft. What does all this internal carriage do for us is it increases our stealth capability and really contributes to the low observable nature. One of the transformational characteristics of this airplane is that it is so low observable and so stealthy. So we've kind of taken that F-117 B-2 stealth capability and merged it now with the F-16 and F-15's air-to-air and air-to-ground capabilities. So let's talk about that air-to-ground capability here for a second. If you come on over here, if you look up under the aircraft, this is the main weapons bay. And at initial operational capability in December 2005, one of the things Colonel Murphy was talking about is we're going to be doing the operational testing of this airplane. A big part of that is going to be testing the two 1,000-pound Joint Direct Attack Munitions, or satellite-guided weapons, that the Raptor will carry up inside. Air-to-air loadout, you can also carry with those Joint Direct Attack Munitions a couple of AMRAAMs, Advanced Medium-Range Air-to-Air Missiles, and then in the side weapons bays here on the side of the aircraft, we can carry two AIM-9 Sidewinders as well. So you see it's got really a full host of air-to-ground and air-to-air capability as well. Now if you'll come along with me around here toward the rear of the airplane, one thing you'll notice is, as we talked about the weapons not being hung on the outside, is there really no antennas that are hanging off the aircraft anyway. And what you may notice is a few different lines on the airplane, and a lot of that is antennas embedded in the skin of the aircraft. And we'll talk more about what those antennas do for us and what those sensors do for me as a Raptor pilot compared to the F-16 here in a second. Before we do that, I'd like to take you around to the back of the airplane, and we'll take a look at the engines on this thing. We've got two Pratt & Whitney F-119 engines on this aircraft. Flying the F-16, I'm used to somewhere between 25 and 30,000 pounds of thrust. With the F-119, what we're looking at is really over 35,000 pounds of thrust each. These engines back here are absolutely magnificent. What they give us is they give us the ability to supercruise. Supercruise, the ability to go faster than the speed of sound without using the afterburner, is truly one of the transformational characteristics. Combined with the stealth capability, what this effectively does is shrink the enemy's engagement zone against the Raptor. So stealthy and very fast, they can't see us, and we get in and out in a hurry. The other thing you'll notice about looking at these engines is the two divergent nozzles that are here on the back. Those divergent nozzles contribute to another transformational capability that the Air Force likes to talk about here, and that's the maneuverability of this airplane. When we talk about maneuverability, we're not just talking about dogfighting and things of that nature, but we're also talking about being able to evade enemy surface-to-air missiles to get in and out of a threat area very quickly. We're talking about now these thrust vectoring engines giving us superior maneuverability when we get up in the thin air up above 40,000 feet or so, those thrust vectoring nozzles will actually contribute to maneuverability as well, even if you're doing just normal flight ops and not doing aggressive dogfight type maneuvering. The last thing I'd like to talk about is what all this stuff does, all these sensors do for me when I'm up in the cockpit. In the F-16, I'm really very used to spending most of my time as a sensor operator. I have to take a lot of my brain bites, if you will, and work the radar, make sure I'm looking in the right place, make sure that I've got my targeting pod on the correct target, make sure that my data link is giving me the right information. The great thing about the F-22 is that now in the Raptor, the F-22 takes all this information and it fuses it together into one common picture, if you will, on a nice big 8x8 inch display, literally about 400 times the display area that I'm used to in an F-16, just on that one display. And now all that information is brought together on one fused display. And what it allows me to do as a fighter pilot is it allows me to return to the role of a classical fighter pilot from the 50s, which I kind of like, which is that of a tactical aviator. I get to not be a sensor operator, now I get to make tactical decisions.
The entire F-22 is thoroughly wired for self-test. Almost every subsystem can check itself for faults and report its operational status. Ground crews can monitor the health of the aircraft through a laptop computer configured as a portable maintenance aid, or PMA. The PMA can list faults and perform diagnoses, as well as check the level of consumables such as fuel and oil. Overall maintenance demands for the FA-22 are estimated to be half or less than that for an F-15, and the Raptor's estimated 3-hour mean time between maintenance is 3 times that of the F-15. The F-22 is constructed of titanium alloys, composites, aircraft aluminium alloy, and thermoplastics. Advanced titanium welding techniques and composite fabrication are used in the aircraft's construction. Radar absorbent material, or RAM, is used in critical locations to reduce the aircraft's radar signature, and the aircraft's contours are intended to make it less conspicuous to radar. Apertures, such as weapons bay and landing gear doors, have zigzag edges to break up radar returns. An overall coating reduces the aircraft's infrared signature as well. The F-22's twin Pratt & Whitney F-119 PW100 engines are leading-edge power plants. The F-119's ability to provide supersonic cruise without afterburner provides the F-22 with one of its most important capabilities. It has a high power-to-weight ratio and can deliver 35,000 pounds of afterburning thrust. Performance estimates give the F-22 a speed of Mach 1.5 in non-afterburning supercruise mode and a speed of Mach 2 or above with afterburner. Service ceiling is thought to be over 50,000 feet, and the maximum range is believed to be over 1,860 miles. Flight tests demonstrate that the F-22 combines good handling characteristics with very high maneuverability. The F-119 engine includes thrust-vectoring exhaust nozzles that can traverse 20 degrees up and down to improve the Raptor's maneuverability in low-speed combat.
Roger that, 1-1.
As far as the thrust vectoring goes, it's really unique in this airplane. If you're familiar with the F-16, you have a digital flight control system. And that digital flight control system, all the inputs from the stick go through a set of flight control computers, and it automatically donculates or calculates what it needs to do to fly the airplane. In the Raptor, very similar, except now it's the stick and the throttle that do that together. So the thrust vectoring actually automatically kicks in when you need it. So I, as the pilot, there's no switches that I have to push or anything like that to select a thrust vectoring mode. It just automatically happens, so really decreases the pilot workload.
Status. We're waiting on 2-6's drop out to the IP. I can follow 2-6, clear to the east.
Altitude.
The main weapons bay can accommodate 6 AMRAAMs or 2 AMRAAMs and a pair of bombs. Each side weapons bay can accommodate a single AIM-9X Sidewinder missile capable of off-boresight attacks as directed by the pilot's joint helmet-mounted cueing system. The doors pop open and the Sidewinder is deployed out into the airstream at an angle to give its seeker a good field of view. The Raptor can also be fitted with a total of 4 underwing stores pylons for fuel or external stores, though this sacrifices the aircraft's stealth characteristics and is intended mainly for carriage of ferry tanks. The F-22 includes a single General Electric M61A2 Vulcan 20mm Gatling-type cannon in the right wing route. The heart of the F-22's electronic capabilities is the AN/APG-77 radar system. With the AN/APG-77, the F-22 is able to detect an enemy aircraft's radar from distances of up to 250 nautical miles. It can acquire an enemy aircraft at distances of up to 125 nautical miles, while its low probability of intercept radar signals make it very difficult to detect, leaving the stealthy F-22 invisible to the enemy's radar. The F-22's avionics were designed to allow a single crewman to perform missions traditionally reserved for 2-seat aircraft. Political pressure saw many cutbacks in the planned F-22 program, but the USAF made a good case for continuing development of this highly advanced platform.
What we're finding out now is that traditionally we're finding new ways to employ these airplanes. The stealthiness of it, the super cruise, the advanced avionics opens up new dimensions to employ it. So we're just beginning to look at tactics and devise new ways. But what we have seen so far is things that we've never been able to do with other aircraft, which open up the window for us.
This airplane just flies magnificently. You know, I never thought that I'd say anything bad about the F-16. It's been my baby for 1,500 hours and almost 10 years now that I've been flying it. And I love that airplane. I think it's a great airplane. You know, brought in as a lightweight fighter, extremely maneuverable and extremely agile. We have done some testing of visual maneuvering. I'll tell you that that's not our focus of testing. The focus is on beyond visual range and enemy defense penetration, but in the little bit of visual maneuvering that we've done, the Raptor absolutely dominates the skies. We have not found an F-15 or an F-16 that is able to engage it and defeat it and kill it.
What we're doing is preparing this airplane for the future. I mean, this airplane is not here to fight past wars, or that past wars are an example of what we expect in the future with it. This airplane is to achieve air dominance, being able to penetrate enemy defenses, the most sophisticated around, and we will have those kind of defenses in the future, and the kind of aircraft that some of other countries are developing right now. Sure, we always want to do it best, but we want to win 100-0. We're not interested in anything less. We're doing our very best to develop the tactics with this magnificent airplane to do the job. So this has got a great future with it, and we're real proud of it.
The US Air Force, the US Navy, the US Marine Corps and the British Royal Navy have now committed to a new, advanced attack aircraft, the Lockheed Martin F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, or JSF. Major aircraft manufacturers began to consider JSF designs in 1994. 3 companies offered proposals to meet the JSF request. Lockheed Martin produced the X-35 demonstrator seen here.
Well, we were, to buy the F-35 in particular, we had a concept demonstration phase, and we flew off an X-32 Boeing design against the X-35 Lockheed design, and the Lockheed design looked like it was better, so that's where we actually awarded the contract. But each one of those contractors did an exceptional job of proving that you could have all 3 of the requirements for a short takeoff, vertical landing, a carrier airplane and a conventional airplane, all within their design. And so it just turned out the Lockheed airplane looked like it had a little more capability. First of all, the things we're going to talk about today are what we call the 4 pillars of the Joint Strike Fighter. There's affordable, it's supportable, it's lethal, and it's survivable are the 4 pillars. So affordability is a key tenet of the program. It is the ability to both design the airplane and keep the development costs as low as possible, to buy the airplanes have a low recurring flyaway cost, and then capitalize on low costs of operations in the operation and support arena. So under affordability, there are 3 major points of that pillar of the program.
Pilots play a major part in developing new fighter aircraft.
We have a lot of pilots and operators that come down and evaluate the airplane in simulators. We actually have a Harrier that's flying out in Boscombe Down that has our flight control system in it, the simulator flight control system. So pilots are starting to touch and feel and understand what the capabilities of this weapon system will actually do, and they are excited. I've not yet met a pilot that wouldn't like to have the airplane today. So I think one of our challenges obviously is to sustain that momentum. We have 8 partner nations now that will fly and fight with us as a coalition. Their pilots are engaged. So I think the community that's of eventual users is coming right along with us.
Although the first aircraft hasn't flown yet, JSF will come in 2 variants, a STOL or conventional takeoff and landing version, and a STOVL or short takeoff and vertical landing version. The US invited foreign governments to take part in the JSF program. Primary partner are the British, who are going to acquire the Stovall version of JSF.
The pillars of the program of lethality, supportability, affordability and survivability are the very transformational capabilities that the UK needs for the future of its forces. By participating in the Joint Strike Fighter program, we do get an aircraft that we can afford to develop. We get an aircraft that is interoperable with our American counterparts and most of the other fighter users in the world, if you look at the other nations that are involved in the program. It's a hugely important program for the future of offensive aviation, and it's important that the UK is part of that. We've chosen the Stovall aircraft to replace the Harrier and Joint Force Harrier for the Joint Combat Aircraft. We have considerable experience of Stovall operations at sea. We like very much the flexibility that Stovall brings to us, and it represents a very affordable way of deploying extremely highly capable aircraft from the maritime or the land environment. Stovall gives you the benefits of basing flexibility from the carrier or for the land, and both of those are equally important to us in replacing Joint Force Harrier aircraft. In the future, there may well be involvement of other variants of JSF as we look to wider applications to replace things like the Tornado. But Eurofighter clearly comes into the mix, the Typhoon. This aircraft very much complements the Typhoon, and the UK mix of Typhoon and JSF will be our future offensive air force. Well, the Typhoon was designed from the outset to be an air defence aircraft. Nonetheless, it will have a considerable air-to-ground capability. What JSF gives you is first day of the war stealth capability to be able to penetrate missile fields and go in with a very highly capable air-to-ground aircraft. Having been built from the ground up to be stealthy, it is able to get to much higher levels of stealth than would be available if you try and add it on later on.
Whilst the JSF program is underway at the moment and manufacturing of the first aircraft has begun, political pressure and budget restrictions are forcing the world's air forces to look at new ways of operating. Many now feel the future of fighter aircraft will now not include a pilot in the cockpit, as the technology behind unmanned aerial vehicles, or UAVs, starts to mature. Aircraft such as Global Hawk have proved the concept of the UAV and are operating around the world today. JSF could very well be the last manned fighter program in the world. The fighter could be entering a whole new era, one without its pilot.